afternoon and welcome to Midday Report here on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Kaja. U.S. Vice President JD Vance has said that a potential deal to end Russia's invasion of Ukraine will be unlikely to satisfy either side. The statement comes 4 days ahead of a highly anticipated meeting between President Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Reporting from Kyiv is our correspondent Alex Kadier.
Well, the U.S. President JD Vance clearly managing expectations ahead of a potential meeting between President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska, saying that it is almost certain that both sides will come out unhappy from these peace talks. Both sides will need to concede. Of course, something received with some level of bemusement here in Ukraine. Ukrainians feeling very strongly that Russia, as the aggressor, as the invader, as the country that stole Ukrainian territory by force, should be punished, should not be appeased by territorial concessions or allowing Russia to maintain control of Ukrainian lands. But that appears to be the direction of these talks. We heard about land swaps from the US president himself, his ambassador to NATO, Matt Whitaker, saying that there will not be large chunks of land exchanged or sacrificed, but rather what has been earned on the battlefield, implying somehow that Russia has earned Ukrainian territory. That, of course, creating a sense of concern here in Ukraine, concern as well that President Zelensky may be cut out of the process and that a decision about Ukraine may be made without Ukraine. In Kyiv, I'm Alex Kadier for TVP World.
On Sunday, a Ukrainian drone strike hit the Lukoil-Ukhta oil refinery in Russia's Komi Republic, which supplies Russian forces with fuel. The oil refinery, located in Russia's far north, approximately 2,000 kilometers from the Ukrainian border, was the site of Kyiv's first confirmed drone strike in the region. Part of a special operation by Ukraine's military intelligence, the attack targeted a petroleum tank, causing a spill and damaging a gas processing plant. Russian authorities said that workers were evacuated from the drone's path and that there were no casualties. This follows a previous strike on a refinery in Russia's Saratov region on August 10th. Which resulted in explosions and a large fire. The EU's top diplomat Kaja Kallas has called a snap meeting of the bloc's foreign ministers for Monday afternoon at 4 p.m. CET. The meeting is set to focus on Ukraine and the summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin. No press conference has been planned, but Kallas' staff reports a written statement may be released following the meeting.
In the run-up to the meeting between the American and Russian leaders, Kallas said that any deal between Washington and Moscow should involve Ukraine and the EU, as it will concern the whole of Europe's security. The bloc's foreign ministers are set to discuss the EU's next steps regarding Ukraine and the Trump-Putin meeting. Kallas added that all temporarily occupied Ukrainian territories should remain Ukrainian. She also warned that any negotiated settlement for Moscow and Kyiv cannot allow for further Russian aggression against Ukraine, NATO, or Europe to occur. The meeting will be held online. The ministers are also expected to discuss and review recent developments in the Middle East.
Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said earlier today that the U.S. will consult with European partners ahead of the Trump-Putin talks. We'll keep you updated as we learn more. On Monday, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk visited the chemical plant nitrochem in Bydgoszcz, Poland. The plant is one of Europe's largest producers of explosives and ammunition. The visit highlighted the vital role the facility plays in ensuring Polish security, especially when it comes to 155mm ammunition production.
Nitrochem is a key production facility for Polish security, which is why it's so important that production, licensing, the freedom of export, as well as the technologies all work together to ensure the sovereignty of our actions. We want to achieve maximum production capabilities in Poland. We want to own licenses and technologies that directly impact Polish security. This will ensure the Polish army has its needs met here and by us, not by other government or country. When I became Prime Minister, Poland produced roughly 5,155mm ammunition units per year. More than that is used in a single day on the Ukrainian front lines. Way more. This year, we are on track to produce almost 30,000 units annually. And we have the very realistic ambition to reach 200,000 units per year threshold over the next 2 years.
Optimism over a potential peace deal in Ukraine has impacted European markets. European shares have gained as the pan-European index Stoxx 600 floats at its strongest level since July 31st. The presidents of the US and Russia are set to meet at a summit in Alaska later this week. Donald Trump has said that a potential deal would involve swapping of territories between Russia and Ukraine to the betterment of both. The prospect of peace has boosted the stocks index, which was up 0.3% on Monday, which has also negatively impacted some European defense companies. Shares of the German defense firm Rheinmetall have dropped by 3.7%. Ukrainian journalist and podcaster Zoriana Varenya says she was attacked in downtown Warsaw for speaking her native language. She shared her account of the event in a post on Facebook.
Varenya, who fled to Poland due to Russian aggression at the beginning of 2022, but has lived in the country for almost 9 years now due to her university career, said she has now experienced a wave of anti-Ukrainian attacks.
For the first time in the last 3 years, I was attacked in downtown Warsaw near the palm tree on Nowy Świat Street. It had been a rough night in Kyiv, and I was on the phone with my mom, making sure she was okay. I was speaking Ukrainian. An old lady grabbed my arm and called me a Russian.
Varenya's experiences are a good example of the findings of a report released by a Polish think tank, the Zamenhof Foundation Institute. In the report, the institute claims that following Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, anti-Ukrainian and pro-Russian groups purposely began to spread disinformation, inciting social polarization, aiming to discourage Poles from aiding Ukrainians. The Institute's report says that a portion of the disinformation is specifically designed to target Polish women, those most likely to help their Ukrainian counterparts. In the report, they also quote the findings of the Economist Intelligence Unit's 2021 investigation, that 67% of online harassment targets women. Varenya and her friend were also verbally attacked on a bus for speaking their native language. Another time, she was approached following a panel she took part in and told to leave Poland and go back to Ukraine by a member of the audience.
According to the Estonian media outlet Delfi, the GPS jamming over the Baltic states and the Gulf of Finland is being caused by a secret military complex in the Kaliningrad region. Designed to analyze satellite and other forms of communications between NATO countries, the facility's equipment can also generate potentially dangerous signal interference.
According to secret Russian documents obtained by the Estonian news service, the base in Pionersky is part of the strategic Tobol electronic warfare network. It includes several surveillance, defense, and command systems. Its purpose is to protect Russian satellite communication and navigation systems, but also weaken the intelligence activities of NATO countries. The generated interference can be directed not only at satellite positioning systems, such as GPS and Galileo, but also at the Starlink satellite communications system.
5 Al Jazeera journalists were killed in an Israeli strike near Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City on Sunday. The journalists were in a reporter's tent when the strike occurred. The Israel Defense Forces claimed that the attack targeted one of the journalists, Anas al-Sharif, due to his leadership of a Hamas terrorist cell, but provided no evidence to back up the allegation. Al Jazeera, a global press agency, condemned the attack, labeling it a premeditated assault on press freedom by Israel. The UN Human Rights Office condemned the killing of the journalists, saying the actions by Israel's military presented a grave breach of international humanitarian law, as Palestinians reported the heaviest bombardments in weeks. According to independent Armenian journalist Robert Ananyan, adequate signals are coming from Iran regarding the Armenia-Azerbaijan peace and transit agreement brokered by the United States. These reports follow in the wake of earlier unfriendly comments from Tehran regarding the deal.
In a post on X, Ananyan said that Iran believes the Trump route does not block its road to the north and Europe, but is rather concerned that American and Armenian companies would build the road. Ananyan based his statement on the Iranian president's recent comment that the demands of the Islamic Republic have been taken into account when it comes to the issue of this particular route. The journalist also recalled the Iranian foreign minister's words, who welcomed the deal and said that Iran is in constant consultation with both Armenia and Azerbaijan. Ananyan went on to explain that these rather positive signals come after extremely aggressive statements from Iran about the deal between Armenia and Azerbaijan in recent days. Iran's deputy parliamentary speaker has called the Zangezur corridor a key element of the recent peace treaty, which connects Azerbaijan to its territory in Nakhchivan, a corridor of war.
In Turkey, one person died and 29 were injured after a 6.1 magnitude earthquake hit the northwestern province of Balıkesir on Sunday evening. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan issued a statement wishing a swift recovery to everyone affected and said that all recovery efforts were being closely monitored by his office.
According to Turkish Interior Minister Ali Yerikaya, a total of 16 buildings collapsed in the region, most of them derelict. 2 minarets of a mosque were also destroyed. Turkey's disaster management agency said the quake began at around 7:53 p.m. local time and was felt as far away as Istanbul, some 200 kilometers to the south. The earthquake was followed by several aftershocks, including one measuring 4.6 in magnitude.
Over 1,400 people have been evacuated in northwestern Spain due to the ongoing forest fires. Around half of those forced to leave come from villages near the UNESCO World Heritage Site of Las Medulas.
Around 60 soldiers from the Spanish military's emergency unit and 20 emergency vehicles have been sent to the area to support the ongoing firefighting operation. Meanwhile, the head of the regional government of Castile and Leon expressed his belief the fires were caused by arson. Spain is currently suffering from a heat wave with temperatures of around 40 degrees Celsius, which favors fire outbreaks. According to the Spanish Fire Department, these high temperatures, low humidity, and strong winds make it difficult to extinguish the blaze. The local weather service says the high temperatures are expected to last at least until Thursday.
This coming Thursday, we'll see a concert like no other take place in the halls of the Grand Theatre of the National Opera in Warsaw. The Ukraine Freedom Orchestra will perform a moving tribute to children abducted by Russia and to the mothers who risked their lives to save them. Agata Dura has more on the upcoming event in her report.
A tribute to the mothers of Kherson. Written by Maxim Kolomiets and played by the Ukraine Freedom Orchestra, an orchestra composed of Ukrainian refugees who fled their country after Russia brutally attacked it in 2022, as well as Ukrainian members of other European orchestras. Kolomiets's work, one of this year's pieces, pays a tribute to Ukrainian women who traveled thousands of kilometers behind enemy lines to set their children free. Children that were held by the aggressors' authorities.
During the war, it is very difficult to choose the team. It should be more important than others. We didn't have one, but we decided that this team about stolen children is close to everybody.
The work was commissioned by the Metropolitan Opera in New York and the Polish National Opera in Warsaw. The latter is where this year's tour will begin on August 14th.
So happy to be back in Poland, which is the artistic home of the Ukrainian Freedom Orchestra. It's our 4th tour, our 4th year coming together, and this is always a warm and supportive environment for us. We are so grateful to the Polish people for your support and for your being in solidarity in this very crucial time.
The Ukraine Freedom Orchestra was formed in an effort to protect Ukraine's cultural legacy while the country fights for freedom.
It's very special for me because it's time where I can meet with my friends, with my colleagues with whom I studied in Lviv, in Ukraine, with whom I worked in Kyiv. And it's a special moment, special time to be together, to create music together, and to be gathered with the same goal.
Our orchestra is a family. Our orchestra is a group of musicians who are bonded by their passion for music, but also by their love for their country.
Besides Warsaw, this year's tour includes cities such as Vilnius, Bucharest, Amsterdam, and London.
And that concludes Midday Report. Thank you so much for being with us, and stay tuned for more on TVP World. Goodbye.